Good morning. This is Doreen with Thought Storm Journal. We all praise the person who's recovered from something despite insurmountable odds, like cancer patients or drug addicts that have literally come back from the brink. We see it every day. But if you're like me and you've lived a while in this mixed-up society, you're most likely recovering from something too. This could be addiction, fatal disease like cancer, mental illnesses like anxiety and depression, a toxic or abusive home situation, a heartbreak, or even time in prison. Overcoming these things are different types of recovery, but recovery is a tricky thing. And some people may never really recover from whatever it is they need to recover from because of something they don't realize. In our society, the word recovery has come to mean getting better, feeling better, ending a difficult state or phase in our lives. But the actual Merriam-Webster definition suggests that recovery means we're returning to a norm of sorts, to the state of things we had before the difficult phase, a going back to the original situation. But did we ever stop to think that if the conditions we had before were negative or even harmful, then returning to them is not anything like getting better? There's a certain paradox about recovering, and understanding this paradox will determine whether or not you recover from it permanently or not. When you've been just about as low as you can go in any aspect of your life, like rock bottom or very close to that, there are certain conditions that have been in place around you that have kept you in that negative state. There are certain people surrounding you and certain conditions that you live under that bring difficulty, negativity, toxicity, or even abuse. And after you work so hard to recover, you end up going back to the same people and the same conditions that were in place while you were struggling to recover. For example, if you're a recovered cancer patient, afterward, you may return to the same work environment or difficult spouse or family situation that stressed you out and created the conditions for your cancer in the first place. If you quit drinking or doing drugs, you return to find that all your friends still have that same old addiction. If you're recovering from mental illness, you'll return to the same old friends, long stricken with the same old negativity and fearfulness day after day like they've always had. Quite often, these people who remain stuck will see your recovery and get jealous, or they feel lonely with their own addiction and try to suck you back into the old bad habits. If you quit smoking, you have that one friend that can't seem to quit and also can't seem to keep blowing smoke in your face or inviting you out back for a cigarette. If you quit drinking, your still drinking friends keep calling you from the bar. And all the while, that toxic spouse is just as toxic as ever, trying to pull you into the same old argument. And if you refuse the invites and refuse to partake of the old habits that you worked so hard to give up, they may shame you about it. They may tell you that you've abandoned them. They may even tell you that now that you're recovered, you think you're better than they are. But here's the thing. You have the right to get better. And if you are really committed to your full recovery and to making real changes in your life, you have some hard decisions to make. And this is the reason many people don't fully recover from adversity like they really could. In order to recover completely, you have to be prepared for everything in your life to change. You have to begin practicing what is known as radical self-love. Now, we all hear the term self-love all the time, but not everyone knows what it really means. We hear a lot of people tell us that we need to just love ourselves more, but quite often they don't even know what it means when they're saying it to us. Quite often it's equated to taking a bubble bath or taking a shopping trip or skipping work to go fishing or play a couple rounds of golf. No, self-love is much more than that. Self-love is radical. It's a radical decision to put yourself and your own needs ahead of everyone else, everyone. And the first thing everyone thinks is that I'm telling you to selfishly abandon your family and your significant other for your own happiness. And this is where people get stuck. They think that self-sacrifice is a virtue. And in order to be a good person, we need to sacrifice our own happiness for our people. We're taught that's what love is. So we reject being loving to ourselves and we take care of everyone else while we ourselves live a miserable existence, forever. And this lack of self-love stops our recovery dead in its tracks. After we work so hard to recover, we return to the very thing that got us into the proverbial hole in the first place. And any real recovery will never take place. So why did you work so hard if you weren't going to go the distance? It's because you didn't know what going the distance meant when you started. You didn't know that recovery meant you might have to ditch the same old negative friends and make a whole new group of friends. Or even learn to be comfortable being alone for a while. You didn't know it meant that you might need to break off your relationship with your possibly difficult or even abusive significant other and start a whole new life somewhere else. You didn't know that you might have to change the way you think and believe about everything. These are things that may all have to take place. So maybe we need a new word to describe this phase? To love yourself sometimes means you have to make difficult choices and ask yourself, since I really love myself now, what decision do I need to make in this moment that will show that I love myself? And then make that decision. I guess it's like a discovery. You're discovering a new way of being. But if you're having trouble processing this concept, think of it this way. You are a valuable human being with a lot to offer the world. This is why your recovery is so important. And there is absolutely nothing wrong in your doing whatever you need to do in order to make a full recovery. And remember that you are absolutely no help to anyone else that needs you unless you are a fully healthy, vibrant being with a full force of energy. And that vibrant person doesn't exist unless you give yourself all the tools you need and give yourself all the permissions you need to be the person you were meant to be in the first place, the person that your loved ones deserve to be able to get to know. And if someone tries to shame you for that or tell you you're being selfish, then good. That means you're on the right track. Loving yourself in your recovery doesn't mean you stop caring about everyone else in your life. It means that you start caring about yourself equally or more. Because if you don't take care of you, who will? No one. That's who. So if you want to be helpful to those you love, then love yourself and give yourself the recovery you deserve.